Hello, so I thought today we could talk about conditional logic a bit more. So just a bit more logic-based lesson, so you can create more complex behavior in your code. So let's get started. So before we talked about, so we'll do stuff in Paint first and then jump into the editor. I've got a code example that I made that I thought was kind of cool, so I'll show you that later. So you can have let's say a variable called cond, cond, and that could have a condition like, does 2 equal 2? I remember the let. And then that will hold, this should come out to be true. Remember, it's lowercase t. So it would be lowercase t true. And then vice versa, if it's a condition that the condition makes false, then it will be false. Right? Okay, so we have an understanding of that from the previous lesson. But here's where things get a bit more interesting. You can have the AND operator. So the AND operator kind of daisy chains logic together. So it's denoted as, so AND is denoted as the AND sign, but you have to use two of them. So it's that. So you could have something like, let's say, does 2 equal 2, and does 3 equal 3. And what that would do is this will equal true, and then this will equal true as well. And then so the AND here will basically do a comparison, and that will equal true. So the general rule of thumb would be an AND operator makes true is equal to true, true false is equal to false, false true is equal to false, and a true is equal, no, that's wrong, false is equal to false. So there's only one case where there's truth, and that's when both conditions equal true. Now on the other hand, so a case where this might be false is like, does 3 equal 2, that will obviously equal false, right? The other hand, there's an OR operator, which is, I forgot what the thing is, but it's cool, it's just 2 dashes. Not dashes, but horizontal lines. I forgot what the key is called, but yeah, you get what I mean. So in this case, if you have 2 equals 2, that would be true, obviously. And then if you have 3 equals 3, that will obviously be true. And that overall will equal true. So the general case this works with is, as you can see, t equals t, but if t false equals true, and then if you have false true equals true, and then a false equals false. So think of OR as being more lenient. If only one of them is true, then the condition overall is true, but if both of them are false, then one's false. On the other hand, with the AND operator, if both of them are true, then it's true. If there's a false somewhere in it, then it's overall false. Now you can see how over as you write your code, this sort of logic can be used in certain places, and you can create a bit more complex behavior. Example I've done, you can have 2 equals 2, so that should become as true, and then AND 3 equals 3 equals 3, and that will become true, and overall it will become true, and the condition here, if we print out the condition, is true. So you can see it works in that case as well. Now let's try OR. So this is those 2 lines. I forgot what they're called. I keep forgetting it. We'll figure out later. But yeah, so you get what I'm doing. Let's say if that equals 2, that should be false. So that'll be false, that'll be true, and overall is true. And then let's make this false as well. So that should be false overall. Yep. And if we use an AND up there, overall should be false, yep. And then if you change that to true, that should be false as well. So you see all the variation and all types. So then you can just say something on the lines that, if you want to, so this condition gives an overall value of something to this condition variable. We can then say something like, if the condition because remember now it's either true or false, right? So it's only one thing. And since our if statements only work if we have a truth there, we can say something along the lines that, draw a circle. So 100, 100, 100, 3, and there you are. So as this condition comes to an overall value of a single one, our if statement just needs one condition for it to be true, and therefore it does that. Now there's another operator that's kind of useful. It's called a bang. It's called a not operator, and that basically reverses whatever we have. So let's say this condition here, all of this, let's put it in brackets, is all of it's true, right? We can say it's true. Now by putting a exclamation mark, we reverse it, and that becomes a false. So we can then say, so you can see here, it overall becomes false. So what we can say here, let's say you don't want to put that there. Now it's useful to put the brackets, because if you don't put the brackets, what it will think is you're putting the bang operator here. Not bang operator. I'm thinking of a different language. When you put the exclamation marks, the not operator here, it will convert that. So by putting it all in brackets, you encapsulate it as a group. So that's another thing to get into. We'll go over that later in another video. Grouping functions and grouping math expressions with brackets. So yeah, so if you go here and then you put the exclamation mark here, that will become false. So although this condition is true, so let's say for example we make this 3, that should be false, and as we put an operator of not here, that becomes true, even though it comes here as false. So I think that covers most of it. There are other operators of XAND and XOR, I think it's called, and they have their own certain way of working. But yeah, another cool thing about this is you can have it so with the not operator. So let's say you want to create some sort of switch. So a condition's true, it renders once, then disappears. So you can say something on the lines that okay, so if our condition is true, then what we're saying here is make the circle at 100 and 100. If our condition is false, then make the circle at 200, 200. So what we can do here is basically say, once our condition is true, we can then make that condition false. And then you can use this as a type of flip, or as a type of switch when writing out your code. So you can say bang, condition. So what that would do is, the condition runs, it then makes a condition false, and then draws a circle at 200, 200. Let's put this here, so we don't render the background ones. Now, okay, cool. So what happened was, the condition came in, it checked it's true, we then went here, condition, the condition ran, and then draw the first circle here, and then we flipped the condition so it became false now, because you can see here it turns from true to false, and then went to here from now on. So it's ignoring this whole condition here, because we flipped the condition already to make the new circle. Okay, so I think that covers this bit. I wanted to show another example that I made that was a bit more interesting. Okay, so here's another example I wanted to show you that's a bit more complex. So we have an x coordinate, y coordinate, size, color. We set up the canvas here, we're drawing the background, we've got a fill, color, we've got our coordinates specified there, and the size. And then we've got this crazy logic here, and then we've got an expression here saying if the mouse is pressed. So this is a variable where if the mouse is pressed on the screen, it should be true. And we also true with this type of logic. Then we get them x coordinate, y coordinate, make them equal to the mouse, and then make the color equal 120, otherwise make it 255. So if a mouse goes into the bounding area of the circle, it will change color, and the circle's x and y coordinates will be the mouse coordinates. And when we let go, it'll be white, and then we drag elsewhere, nothing happens. So what this is doing, so let's jump into Paint. It'll be a bit easier if we explain it that way. So let's Control A and delete. So basically what we're doing is, we're getting the circle. We know that the circle is rendered from the center. So let's make a little square X there. So we know that's the center. And we know the center is something like 100, 200, whatever, right? It's saying get the X coordinate, let's get the Y coordinate, and then we know the size of this is about 100. So if we have 100 divided by 2, that gives us the radius of the circle. So that should be 50. So then we can say get our X coordinate, because we know the center is here, so get our X coordinate and minus 50. So if we say X minus 50, that should give our bounding area here, that line there of our x coordinate, to look for. And then if we do x plus 50, that gives us our coordinate here to look for. And the same goes for the y, right? So if you have y minus 50, that's the top part. If you have y plus 50, that's the bottom part. So by using that logic, we can just say if our mouse x is, so let's call this mx. If our mx is between this area, this bit, and this bit, then we're clicking on the circle. If our mouse y is between this bit and this bit, then we know we're clicking the area. So basically we're saying that if it's smaller than or equal to that area, so we're basically, if we're in the lower bound of that area, upper bound of that area, then click. If the y is in the lower bound, upper bound, and click. Now this is a bit messy, right? We can clean this up. So what we can say here is just make conditions. So we can say let condition 1, let condition 2, let condition 3, let condition 4. And so all we've got to do is just kind of drag them out. Condition 2, and we can just put condition here, condition is for 1, and condition is for 2. And then we can get the third one here as well. Let's drag that out. By the way, when you use AND operations, they usually want you to write them in brackets. So you can see here, as we've separated the conditions out, it makes it much easier to read, but also our if statement also works as well, and the logic still works. So this is kind of one way you can write this out. You'll generally see this type of logic used for games and stuff like that, so more interactive things. But yeah, I'll save this code. You can have a play around with it. Play around with it and see if you can make more interesting things. But yeah, I thought this lesson covered a lot. So yeah, anyway, I think that's everything for today. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye bye.